Hi everyone, it's Miss Miller and welcome to our classroom channel. So I have a question for you. Do you recall when you were just a young toddler and you would hear the song Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star? I know I'm bringing back memories, right? And you would look over at your mom and you would say, Mom, where's the star? And she would say, Baby, look out the sky. Look out at the window and look at the sky, right? Or you guys would get together as a family and maybe, depending on who you were, you would say, oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree. And you're like, the Christmas tree is over there in the corner and we're over here at the dining room table. Well, why are we talking to the Christmas tree over there, right? Or even, we've got Outcast, right? I'm sure you guys know Outcast. You probably remember him, right? He would say, oh, sorry, Miss Jackson, I am for real. And you're like, now come on, Outcast. You're at your house and Miss Jackson is over at her house. So why are you talking to her, right? Or I know there's another song. If I can just, some guy, let me think. There he is, Drake. Drake, I have a question for you. Please, I know you can answer. I don't know if we can hear you, but listen, my question for you is, who is Kiki? Who's Kiki? Who is JT? JB? Who's Risha? Where is Kiki? Where is she? Because you keep saying Kiki, but where is she, Drake? That's what we want to know, right? So listen, this is going to lead us to what we're going to talk about today. Which is apostrophe in literature, and it's the rhetoric in a text. We're going to do a case study in Macbeth. So first of all, you can see just a little bit of it. An apostrophe is a break in dialogue. So it's a break or in a flow of dialogue. So a character is talking, right? And they turn away from their dialogue and they are trying to address something else or someone else, in which a character addresses there's three things: a power, a force, or another character not present in the scene. So here is the whole thing. So again, an apostrophe is where you have this character who is on stage, perhaps, and they're talking, and they break away from their dialogue to sort of reference, oh, Christmas tree, or oh, twinkle, twinkle, little star. And oftentimes it starts with oh, right? Not all the time. Or Miss Jackson, or Kiki, right? So again, it's a break or a turning away, in which a character, right, addresses a power or a force. And we're going to see in Macbeth how our primary characters, or the protagonists, perhaps Macbeth, in this case Lady Macbeth as well, I think even Macduff, uses an apostrophe in this work to sort of communicate their sentiments. So let's take a look at what that might look like in the text. So we have, that's a raindrop, the different forms in which an apostrophe can take. And you know what, I'm going to back up because I do have that raindrop in there. So rhetorical device, right? Some people refer to it as figurative language or literary devices or poetic devices, but a rhetorical device, this is the umbrella, and an apostrophe is one of the many types of rhetorical devices that writers use to enhance their work. So I just wanted to make sure. So an apostrophe, like metaphors, similes, all sorts of rhetorical devices, they all fit under this umbrella. So anyways, let's take a look at the different forms in which an apostrophe can take in a work. So yes, you have this character who is talking to something. It's either dead or alive. So this something doesn't have to, it could be absent, so it might not even be present. Right? It might be in a different room. It might be in a different life. It might be in a different place. Maybe it's its abstract quality. So before I told you power and force or character, but these are all the different forms it can also take. Or an inanimate object, right? Something you can't even touch, or a concept you can't even put your finger on. So there are many forms in which an apostrophe can take. And if you think for a moment, also, you might even consider in your own life, you've probably do this yourself, or you've maybe watched a movie in which a character sort of exhibited this quality, or you may have a show that you watch and you're like, that's what it was. It was a rhetorical device. They were using an apostrophe to communicate to someone who wasn't even present. They aren't even there, or some object, right? Or I'm pretty sure you could think of plenty of songs that do this. I can think of Prince. I mean, pretty much every artist at some point does this same type of approach in terms of how they communicate their ideas. So let's take a look at some examples from Macbeth and some of the characters that really use this apostrophe. One is Lady Macbeth. And you probably recall, as you're reading through this, you're like, oh my gosh, this text is, what, the spirits, what is this, what is going on, right? So come, you spirits, that tend on mortal thoughts, right? Unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of direst cruelty. My goodness, lady, you're calling on the spirit, something outside of yourself, to take away this feminine quality that you possess, and you want to somehow attribute this, you want to qualify the action that you're going to take, the horrific behavior, and you want to assign it to someone else. Like, spirits, do this for me because I can't possibly do it for myself, right? So take away anything good. And when it's a spirits, in this case, you can see it's like evil, demonic spirits. So there's nothing good can come of this. Why would she be calling on these evil spirits to do such a thing? Because it couldn't be anything positive. You've 10 on mortal thoughts, unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of direst cruelty. Who would ask for something like this? So this would be Lady Macbeth using the apostrophe. She, again, if we look at the dialogue, she takes a break, come, and she stops, and she says, oh, you spirits, right? And so there is a perfect example. We also have Lady Macbeth, again, is the character who seems to use this apostrophe, Lady Macbeth. Come, thick night, right? She's calling on something else. And pall thee into the dunnest smoke of hell, right? So just when you think of thick night, like, you can't see anything. And so, you know, a lot of times, like, the worst things happen at night. A lot of times, right? I mean, people do bad things in the dark, right? That's where evil things happen. So, of course, she says, come, thick night, bring it on, come to me, right? And pall thee in the dunnest smoke of hell. This is awful. There's nothing good about what she's asking for. And so this use of apostrophe really shows the evil intent that Lady Macbeth possesses. Now we also see Macbeth sort of referencing, an apostrophe. And now he says, come, fate, into the list and champion me. Like, he's challenging fate, right? And so, and the fate in this case could be those three sisters, or, but he's calling on this, like, come, right? You say this is going to happen. Well, I dare it to happen, because we know that in this case, Macbeth is thinking, wow, King Duncan is going to have some sort of royal lineage, and so this means that my time is up. It's gonna be up of being king. So come, fate, right? So in this case, he's like, come on, right? And so these, again, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, they utilize these apostrophes, but there's nothing nice about it. And it's not always the case. This isn't like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. This isn't like, oh, Christmas tree. So all the different types of apostrophes serve a different purpose. And in this case, in Shakespeare's work, it is serving an evil intent. Here's another one. Come, sealing night, scarf up the tender eye of pitiful day. So cover it all up, conceal what I've done. And with a bloody and invisible hand, cancel and tear to pieces that great bond which keeps me pale. Oh my goodness, right? Remember Lady Macbeth? She wanted you to unsex me and take away all the feminine qualities that she possessed. But Macbeth is like, cover me up. So they're calling on these it's almost like they don't want to take any responsibility for what they're doing, right? Macbeth is like, cover everything up. I don't want anyone to see. Get the dark, the ceiling night, scarf up the tender eye of pitiful day and the bloody invisible hand. Cancel it, tear up the pieces, get rid of it, conceal it, right? You can't see, no, right? And so, and this is in Act 3, Scene 2. So amazing, in which, something you would think is so insignificant, like, oh, wow, we may have thought it was gratuitous, we might have just skimmed through it, but this is significant. This is important to note when a character utilizes it, because it does serve a purpose. It is a rhetorical device, and it's important to sort of dissect it and make sense out of it. Here again, Macbeth is using an aside, and he said, time, thou anticipatest my dread exploits. Again, dread exploits, right? And this time he's referencing time. Like, I want to look at my clock. I want to find my phone and look at the time, right? Now he's talking to this object, as if time can talk back to him. Right? He's not going to waste any more time. The minute he feels something, he's going to act. He has changed. If you recall Macbeth at the beginning, he was indecisive. Should I kill King Duncan, or should I let him live? And then he talks himself out of killing King Duncan, or murdering King Duncan. He had no reason to, and he even told himself. And then Lady Macbeth kind of, taunts him and refers to him as a coward and sort of try to emasculate him. And now all of a sudden he wants to kill him. And so you see this metamorphosis that happens in Macbeth. He changes as a character in the text. He starts off as sort of maybe very thoughtful, and not necessarily thoughtful, but he wants to think about everything that he does. He's indecisive, and then he becomes impulsive. That's a huge change, right? And he just does whatever, so now he's like a time, okay? And so we know that Shakespeare uses soliloquies in his work, and this is where the character is on stage, and the only person that is privy to what the character is saying would be the audience. And then the aside is slightly different, right? And so you do have the characters, and it's not necessarily a soliloquy is lengthy, it's pretty long, right? But an aside is very brief. The characters may be on stage, but they can't hear, but it's typically a brief reference. So this is where, and that you could see, time thou anticipatest my dread exploits. So Macduff is a third character who utilizes this rhetorical device, or I should say Shakespeare sort of employs Macduff to utilize this apostrophe in his work. And he says, bleed, bleed, poor country. Like, oh my gosh, have mercy on this country, right? Great tyranny. So there are 2 apostrophes he uses just in this this dialogue. Lay thou thy basest shore, for goodness dare not check thee. Right? So poor country, what does it come to? We have to change this. So this is the role of Macduff in his use of an apostrophe. And here he is again, and he references, remember, Lady Macbeth and Macbeth, they call on the dark, the thickness of the night, the evil spirits, fate. But Macduff, it seems like there's like a shift in the use of the apostrophe in terms of how the characters utilize it or employ it. Oh, nation miserable. It still has this negative connotation, but now he's not necessarily calling on, fate. He's calling on the country, the tyranny, a nation, right? What has happened to Scotland? Everything has changed. So make a note of how they use it. And this one is Act 4, Scene 3. So the use of apostrophe seems to be throughout the text. And so I wanted to touch on also the P's in apostrophe. And so we have 4 P's. We have purpose. What's the purpose? What sort of effect does an apostrophe have on a work? What's the pattern that you recognize? We noticed the pattern we saw, all the negative connotations sort of assigned or aligned to the apostrophes. I need to tell you too that an apostrophe is truly another form of personification. So especially if it's an inanimate object, this is an attempt for the Shakespeare, or in this case, a character, to sort of personify this object by calling to it, right? Oh, this. And then you have to consider who are the people that are saying it. So in our text, we have Macduff, we have Lady Macbeth, and Macbeth, who are sort of utilizing the apostrophe. And all of this, when you examine the apostrophe, if you put it all on one page and you looked at it, when you look at your notes and you examine the use of apostrophe in a work, it sort of achieves typically a tone. You probably always hear someone says, well, how does the author develop the tone, right? And you could say Shakespeare develops a nefarious tone, evil tone, right? In his body of work, in Macbeth, through the use of apostrophe. And I'm sure you could pull some of the other rhetorical devices or poetic devices or literary devices to help put together this idea of what indeed is the tone of the text. Okay. So I hope that was helpful by Drake in terms of a rhetorical device and how it is used in literature. And thank you for joining us.